On a seemingly ordinary Tuesday afternoon in a quiet suburban neighborhood of Portland, the warm spring sun cast long shadows across neatly trimmed lawns. 12-year-old Alex was riding his bike home from baseball practice, his backpack heavy with homework and his mind already on the video games waiting for him at home. As he pedaled past the local elementary school, something caught his attention. A small girl, probably around 6 years old, was walking alone on the sidewalk, her pink butterfly backpack bouncing with each step. Alex wouldn't have thought much of it, after all, many kids walked home from school, but then he noticed a dark blue van slowly creeping along beside her. The hair on the back of Alex's neck stood up. His mom, a police officer, had taught him about stranger danger and suspicious behavior. He remembered her words clearly: trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. The van's window rolled down, and Alex heard a man's voice saying something about a lost puppy. The little girl stopped walking, and Alex's heart began to race. Without hesitation, he turned his bike around and started pedaling toward them, pulling out his phone from his pocket. Time seemed to slow down as Alex watched the van's side door slide open. The girl took a step toward the vehicle, and Alex knew he had only seconds to act. His hands trembled as he dialed 911, but his voice was surprisingly steady when the dispatcher answered. "There's a man in a dark blue van trying to get a little girl to come with him," he reported, giving their location as clearly as he could. The dispatcher assured him help was on the way, but Alex knew he couldn't wait. Taking a deep breath, he did something both brave and risky. He started shouting at the top of his lungs. "Hey! Get away from her!" His voice echoed through the quiet street. "My mom's a cop, and I just called the police." The man in the van looked startled, clearly not expecting anyone to intervene. The little girl, suddenly aware of the danger, backed away from the vehicle. Alex continued shouting, drawing the attention of nearby houses. Lights came on, and doors began to open. The van's engine roared to life, and it sped away, tires screeching against the pavement. Alex quickly memorized as much as he could about the vehicle: dark blue, a dent in the rear bumper, partial license plate numbers. He kept repeating these details to himself, knowing they would be important. The little girl stood frozen on the sidewalk, her face pale with fear as she realized what might have happened. Alex rode his bike over to her, keeping a respectful distance. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. "What's your name?" "Riley," she whispered, clutching her backpack straps tightly. "I was walking to my grandma's house. She lives right there." She pointed to a house just 2 doors down. Within minutes, police sirens filled the air, and 2 patrol cars arrived at the scene. Alex's mother was among the responding officers, and when she saw her son, her professional demeanor briefly cracked with pride and concern. As the sun began to set, casting an orange glow over the neighborhood, Alex sat with the police, carefully recounting every detail he could remember. Riley's grandmother held her granddaughter close, tears of gratitude streaming down her face as she thanked the young boy who had prevented what could have been a tragedy. That evening, as news crews began arriving and neighbors gathered to discuss what had happened, Alex didn't feel like a hero. He just felt relieved that Riley was safe. His mom had always told him that real courage isn't about being fearless, it's about doing the right thing even when you're scared. The events of that Tuesday afternoon would change the neighborhood forever. Parents began organizing walking groups for children, and the community came together to establish better safety measures around the school. But more importantly, it showed how one person's quick thinking and bravery could make all the difference in the world. The following days brought a whirlwind of activity to the quiet Portland suburb. As news of the attempted abduction spread, Alex found himself at the center of attention, though it made him uncomfortable. He hadn't acted for recognition, he'd simply done what he knew was right. The police investigation moved swiftly, with Alex's detailed observations proving invaluable. The partial license plate numbers he'd memorized, combined with the distinctive dent he'd noticed on the van's bumper, gave investigators solid leads to pursue. Detective Chen, the lead investigator, was particularly impressed by the 12-year-old's presence of mind. Most adults wouldn't have noticed these details in such a stressful situation, Detective Chen explained during a follow-up interview. Alex sat in the police station's interview room, his mom beside him, as he went over the events again. The walls were covered with maps marking similar incidents in neighboring counties, and Alex realized this might be part of something bigger. At school, things had changed too. Alex's classmates treated him differently now, not just as the kid who was good at math and video games, but as someone who'd done something truly important. His teachers used the incident as an opportunity to reinforce safety lessons, though they were careful not to frighten the younger students. Riley's family had become frequent visitors to Alex's house. Her grandmother, Mrs. Thompson, would bring over homemade cookies and sit with Alex's parents, often wiping away tears as they discussed how differently things could have turned out. Riley herself had started calling Alex her guardian angel, though she was still processing the experience with the help of a child counselor. The local news coverage continued, but with a focus on community safety rather than sensationalism. Alex's mother, Officer Rivera, used her position to help organize a neighborhood watch program. The first meeting was held in the community center, with every seat filled and people standing along the walls. What happened here isn't just about one brave act, Officer Rivera addressed the crowd, her voice firm but warm. It's about creating a community where such acts aren't necessary. Where our children are safe walking home from school, and where we all look out for each other. The response was overwhelming. Volunteers stepped forward to organize walking groups for students. Local businesses donated funds for security cameras around the school and park. The elementary school implemented new pickup procedures, and parents began attending self-defense classes with their children. One evening, about a week after the incident, Alex sat with his dad in their backyard treehouse, a place that had always been their special spot for important conversations. The spring air was cool, and the setting sun painted the sky in shades of purple and orange. "You know, son," his dad said, passing him a mug of hot chocolate, "when your mom and I first taught you about stranger danger and being aware of your surroundings, we never imagined you'd have to use those lessons like this." Alex wrapped his hands around the warm mug, thinking carefully before responding. "I was really scared, Dad. But I kept thinking about what would happen if I didn't do anything. I couldn't just ride away." His father nodded, understanding the weight of those words. "That's what real courage is. And you know what? It's okay that you were scared. That fear is what keeps us smart and careful. It's what you do with that fear that matters." The conversation was interrupted by Alex's mom calling them in. Detective Chen was on the phone with an update. The investigation had revealed that the blue van had been spotted in 3 other neighborhoods over the past month, always near schools or playgrounds. Alex's description had helped police create a detailed composite sketch of the suspect. As Alex lay in bed that night, he could hear his parents talking in hushed voices downstairs. The gravity of what he'd prevented was starting to sink in. He thought about Riley, about how different her life might have been if he hadn't been there that day. He thought about other kids who might not have someone watching out for them. The experience had changed him in ways he was still discovering. He'd always been a good student, but now he found himself paying more attention in his science classes, particularly when they talked about observation and detail. He'd started thinking about maybe becoming a detective someday, like Detective Chen, or following in his mom's footsteps as a police officer. The community changed too. Neighbors who had barely spoken before now greeted each other by name. Parents took turns hosting homework clubs so kids wouldn't have to walk home alone. The local paper ran a series of articles about community safety, featuring interviews with experts and practical tips for families. But perhaps the most significant change was invisible to most people. In the weeks that followed, other kids in the neighborhood started speaking up when they saw something wrong. A group of middle schoolers reported a suspicious car near their bus stop. 2 high school students helped a lost kindergartner find his way back to school. The ripple effect of one brave action had created waves of awareness and responsibility throughout the community. As spring turned to summer, the incident remained a powerful reminder of how ordinary days can become extraordinary moments of choice. For Alex, each bike ride past that spot on the sidewalk served as a reminder that sometimes the biggest difference in the world can be made by simply choosing not to look away when something doesn't feel right. 2 weeks after the incident, the investigation took an unexpected turn. Detective Chen's team had been working tirelessly, analyzing traffic camera footage and following up on tips from neighboring communities. Their breakthrough came from an unlikely source: a food delivery driver's dashcam footage from the day of the attempted abduction. The delivery driver had been reviewing his footage for an unrelated insurance claim when he noticed the dark blue van with the distinctive dent. He immediately contacted the police, providing crucial evidence of the vehicle's movement patterns before and after the incident. The footage revealed something disturbing: the van had been circling the area for nearly an hour before approaching Riley. This wasn't an opportunistic attempt, it was carefully planned. The revelation sent shivers through the community and reinforced the importance of Alex's intervention. Meanwhile, Riley had started working with Dr. Carter, a child psychologist specializing in trauma recovery. In their sessions, Riley used art therapy to process her experience. Her drawings, once filled with dark colors and scary figures, gradually began to include bright butterflies, like the ones on her backpack, and a boy on a bicycle she called her superhero. One particularly meaningful session occurred when Alex was invited to join Riley and Dr. Carter. The psychologist had suggested it might help both children process the event. Riley showed Alex her drawings, and together they created a story about staying safe and being brave. "You know what I remember most?" Riley asked Alex during their session, her small hands carefully coloring a butterfly. "Not the scary man, but how loud you yelled. It was like a superhero's special power." Alex smiled, touched by her perspective. "I was just trying to make as much noise as possible," he admitted. "My mom always said that bad guys don't like attention." Dr. Carter observed their interaction with professional interest. The healing power of their connection was evident, 2 children bound by a moment of crisis, helping each other find strength in its aftermath. The investigation continued to expand. Detective Chen's team discovered links to similar attempts in neighboring states. The van's partial license plate, combined with the driver's description provided by Alex, led to a significant breakthrough in a multi-state investigation that had been ongoing for months. The local news station ran an in-depth special report, carefully avoiding sensationalism while focusing on community safety and prevention. They interviewed Officer Rivera about the importance of teaching children to trust their instincts and featured expert advice on recognizing and reporting suspicious behavior. Alex's school took the initiative to develop a comprehensive safety curriculum. The principal, Mrs. Patel, worked with law enforcement to create age-appropriate lessons about personal safety. Alex was invited to speak to younger students, sharing his experience in a way that emphasized awareness without causing fear. "Sometimes being brave doesn't mean you're not scared," he told a group of 4th graders. "It just means you do what's right anyway. And it's really important to tell grown-ups when something doesn't feel right." The impact of his words reached beyond the school walls. Parents reported their children coming home with new confidence, asking thoughtful questions about safety and responsibility. The school's initiative became a model for other districts, spreading ripples of positive change throughout the region. 1 month after the incident, the community organized a safety awareness fair in the park near the school. Local law enforcement, including Alex's mom and Detective Chen, set up information booths. Self-defense instructors offered free demonstrations, and technology experts showed parents how to use safety apps and tracking devices. Riley and her grandmother had a booth too, where they handed out butterfly pins as symbols of transformation and hope. The pins, bright and colorful, represented how something beautiful could emerge from a frightening experience. Children and adults alike wore them proudly, a visible reminder of their community's unity. During the fair, Alex noticed something profound. The fear that had initially gripped the community had transformed into something empowering. Instead of parents nervously watching their children's every move, they were teaching them to be aware and confident. Kids were learning about safety in a positive way, focusing on prevention and preparedness rather than fear. The investigation's progress brought both relief and renewed vigilance. Security cameras installed after the incident had already helped prevent several unrelated crimes, and the Neighborhood Watch program had evolved into a tight-knit network of engaged citizens. One evening, as Alex helped his mom put up new safety awareness posters around the neighborhood, they had a heart-to-heart conversation. "You know," Officer Rivera said, adjusting a poster, "what you did that day wasn't just about saving Riley. You showed everyone that one person can make a real difference." Alex thought about this as they worked. The posters featured safety tips and emergency contact numbers, but they also carried a message of community strength. Each one included a small butterfly symbol in the corner, Riley's idea, as a reminder that protection and transformation often go hand in hand. The story of Alex's brave intervention had begun to spread beyond their community. Youth organizations and safety advocacy groups reached out, asking him to share his experience. Though still uncomfortable with attention, Alex understood that his story could help others stay safe. As spring moved toward summer, the community's transformation continued. The initial shock of the incident had evolved into sustained action and awareness. Regular safety workshops became community fixtures, and the walking groups that had formed in response to the crisis became social networks where neighbors truly got to know each other. Riley's recovery progressed steadily. Her art therapy sessions now produced vibrant, hopeful images, and she had started helping younger children learn about safety through storytelling. Her grandmother often remarked that while the incident could have broken her spirit, it instead revealed her strength, much like the boy who had saved her that day. 6 weeks after the incident, Detective Chen received the call they'd been waiting for. The surveillance footage from a gas station 50 miles north had captured the blue van's full license plate. Combined with Alex's detailed description and the food delivery driver's dashcam footage, they finally had enough evidence to identify the suspect. The breakthrough came during an early morning raid. Multiple law enforcement agencies coordinated their efforts, surrounding a remote property where the van had been tracked. Officer Rivera was part of the operation, her heart racing as she thought about how close the suspect had come to her own community, to Riley, and to all the other children who might have been at risk. The arrest itself was anticlimactic. The suspect was found sleeping and taken into custody without incident. But what investigators discovered at the property sent shockwaves through law enforcement circles. The van contained evidence linking the suspect to similar attempts in 3 different states. The man had been methodically targeting school zones and parks, learning their patterns and vulnerabilities. When news of the arrest reached Alex's family, the impact of his actions became even clearer. His quick thinking hadn't just saved Riley, it had helped stop someone who might have continued targeting other communities. Detective Chen visited personally to share the news and thank Alex again for his crucial role in breaking the case. "Your attention to detail was remarkable," Detective Chen told him, sitting in the family's living room. "That dent you noticed, the partial plate numbers, these details helped us connect cases that might have remained separate. Sometimes the smallest observations make the biggest difference." The investigation's success sparked a renewed focus on community safety across the region. Law enforcement agencies began sharing resources and information more effectively, creating a network of alert systems that could track suspicious activities across state lines. Alex's story became a case study in police training sessions, highlighting the importance of citizen involvement and youth awareness. Riley's grandmother organized a community celebration in response to the news. The local park, once a place of concern, was transformed with colorful decorations and safety information booths. Children flew butterfly-shaped kites, a symbol that had become synonymous with hope and protection in their community. During the celebration, Riley surprised everyone by asking to speak to the crowd. Standing on a small stage, holding her favorite butterfly backpack, she showed courage that moved many to tears. "I was really scared that day," she said, her voice clear and strong. "But then someone chose to help me. Now I want to help other kids be brave too." Her words inspired a new initiative in the elementary school. With support from teachers and counselors, older students began mentoring younger ones about safety awareness. They called it the Butterfly Buddies program, and Riley was proud to be one of its first mentors, despite her young age. Alex found himself adapting to his role as an unexpected community leader. Though still modest about his actions, he understood that sharing his experience could help others. He worked with his mom to develop a presentation about trust instincts and community awareness, which they began sharing at schools throughout the district. One particularly moving moment came when a 10-year-old girl approached Alex after one of his presentations. She shared how she'd recently noticed a stranger following her younger brother home from school. Remembering Alex's story, she'd gathered other kids from the neighborhood, made lots of noise, and attracted the attention of nearby adults. The stranger had quickly disappeared. The ripple effects of that spring day continued to spread. Security companies donated advanced surveillance systems to schools in underserved areas. Community centers established free self-defense classes for children and parents. Local businesses created safe spaces where kids could go if they felt threatened, marked with butterfly decals in their windows. Officer Rivera noticed a significant change in how her community approached safety. Instead of operating from fear, people were working together proactively. The neighborhood watch programs had evolved into friendship networks, where families looked out for each other's children and organized regular safety workshops. Detective Chen's team used the case to develop new training protocols for law enforcement agencies. They emphasized the importance of taking children's reports seriously and working closely with community members. The case became an example of how citizen involvement, especially from young people, could make a crucial difference in solving crimes. As summer approached, Alex's family received an invitation that touched them deeply. A national child safety organization wanted to honor him at their annual conference. More importantly, they wanted to implement his story into their educational programs, helping other communities develop similar awareness initiatives. The day before the conference, Alex visited Riley's art therapy group. The walls were covered with butterfly artwork, each piece telling a story of transformation and hope. Riley's latest drawing showed a neighborhood filled with children playing safely, watched over by friendly neighbors and a boy on a bicycle. "You made everything better," Riley told him, adding final touches to her drawing. "Not just for me, but for everyone. My grandma says one good action can change the whole world." Looking at the drawing, Alex realized how much truth there was in those words. His split-second decision to turn his bike around that spring afternoon had set in motion changes that continued to grow and evolve. The community had transformed its approach to safety, children had found their voices, and families had grown closer through their shared commitment to protecting each other. The evidence collected from the suspect's property led to the resolution of several cold cases in neighboring states. Detective Chen's team received commendations for their thorough investigation, but they made sure to acknowledge that it all started with a 12-year-old boy who chose to pay attention and take action. As Alex prepared for the upcoming conference, he reflected on how different things might have been if he'd chosen to ride past that day. His mom had always taught him that courage wasn't about being fearless, it was about doing what's right despite being afraid. Now he understood that lesson in a way he never could have imagined. The National Child Safety Conference was held in a grand hotel ballroom, filled with educators, law enforcement officers, and child safety advocates from across the country. Alex sat backstage with his parents, adjusting his tie nervously. The morning sunlight streamed through tall windows, creating patterns on the carpeted floor. "Remember, his mother said softly, straightening his collar, "just speak from your heart, like you do at the school presentations." Officer Rivera had taken a few days off to be here with her family, understanding the significance of this moment. Riley and her grandmother had also been invited to attend. They sat in the front row, Riley wearing a new dress decorated with butterflies, clutching a small presentation she'd prepared herself. The bond between the two children had grown stronger over the months, transforming from a chance encounter into a meaningful friendship. When Alex took the stage, the huge room fell silent. Looking out at the sea of faces, he began telling his story not as a rehearsed speech, but as a conversation about community, courage, and the power of paying attention. He spoke about the importance of trusting your instincts and the responsibility we all have to look out for each other. "I didn't do anything special," he explained, his voice growing more confident. "I just noticed something that didn't feel right, and I remembered what my mom taught me about speaking up. Anyone can do that. Everyone should do that." The impact of his words was visible in the room. Conference attendees took notes furiously, many wiping away tears. Law enforcement officers nodded in agreement, recognizing how citizen involvement, especially from young people, could make their jobs more effective. After Alex's speech, Riley surprised everyone by walking up to the podium. Though not originally scheduled to speak, the conference organizers had been moved by her request to share her perspective. Standing on a small platform to reach the microphone, she held up her artwork. "This is my neighborhood before," she said, showing a dark, scary drawing. "And this is it now." The second picture showed bright colors, butterflies, and people helping each other. Everything changed because one person was brave. Now we all help each other be brave too. The conference became a turning point in how communities across the country approached child safety. Instead of focusing solely on stranger danger and fear, the emphasis shifted to community connection, awareness, and empowerment. The Butterfly Buddies program that had started in their small community was adopted by schools nationwide. Back home, the effects of the conference rippled through their community in unexpected ways. Local businesses that had participated in the Safe Space program reported that more children were comfortable asking for help when needed. The butterfly window decals had become a symbol of community commitment to child safety. Alex's school implemented a peer safety ambassador program, where older students helped younger ones learn about personal safety through age-appropriate activities and discussions. The program emphasized building confidence rather than fear, teaching children to trust their instincts while staying aware of their surroundings. One afternoon, while helping to train new safety ambassadors, Alex received news that brought the importance of their work into sharp focus. Detective Chen visited the school to share that their case had helped solve similar incidents in other states. The evidence gathered from their investigation had led to the discovery of a broader network of criminals. "Your actions didn't just save one life," Detective Chen told the group of student ambassadors. "They helped us protect countless other children. This is why we always say that if you see something, say something. One person speaking up can make all the difference." The local media continued to follow the story's developments, but their focus had shifted. Instead of sensationalizing the crime, they highlighted the positive changes in community engagement and safety awareness. They ran a series of features on different neighborhoods implementing similar programs, showing how the butterfly effect of one brave action had spread far beyond their town. Riley's art therapy group had grown into a full-fledged program for children dealing with trauma and anxiety. Her butterfly drawings became the logo for the program, which helped kids process their fears through creative expression. She often visited new groups, sharing her story and showing how scary experiences could lead to positive change. Officer Rivera noticed a significant change in how her fellow officers approached community policing. They spent more time building relationships with local children, visiting schools, and participating in safety awareness events. The barrier between law enforcement and the community had begun to dissolve, replaced by a sense of shared responsibility for everyone's safety. As summer moved into fall, Alex received an invitation that demonstrated just how far their story had reached. A leading child safety organization wanted to feature his and Riley's story in a national campaign about community awareness and action. They weren't interested in sensationalizing the attempted abduction but rather in highlighting how community response and youth empowerment could create lasting positive change. The campaign would focus on the butterfly effect, how one person's actions could create waves of positive change throughout a community and beyond. It would emphasize the importance of building strong community connections, teaching children to trust their instincts, and creating environments where everyone felt responsible for each other's safety. During the campaign planning, Alex and Riley worked together to create a series of educational videos for children. They focused on simple, practical safety tips, but also on the importance of building a supportive community. The videos featured the butterfly symbol that had become synonymous with their message of transformation and hope. One video showed how to create a safety network of trusted adults and friends. Another demonstrated the importance of being aware of your surroundings without being afraid. Each video ended with their shared message: sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak up when something doesn't feel right. The fall also brought an unexpected honor. The governor's office announced a new annual award for youth community service, named the Butterfly Effect Award in recognition of Alex and Riley's story. The award would recognize young people who took action to make their communities safer and stronger. As Alex helped prepare for the award ceremony, he reflected on how much had changed since that spring afternoon. What had started as a simple bike ride home had transformed not just his community, but communities across the country. The scary incident had bloomed into something beautiful, just like the butterflies in Riley's artwork. The national campaign launch exceeded everyone's expectations. What started in a small Portland suburb had grown into a movement that captured the nation's attention. The campaign's first video, featuring Alex and Riley sharing their story, reached millions of views within days of its release. Schools across the country began implementing the safety awareness program, adapting it to their local communities while maintaining the core message of awareness, action, and community connection. The butterfly symbol appeared on playgrounds, in school hallways, and on community center walls, serving as a constant reminder of the power of looking out for one another. One morning, Alex received an email that brought tears to his mother's eyes. A 10-year-old girl from Florida had recognized a situation similar to Riley's, thanks to watching their safety awareness videos. She had immediately alerted nearby adults and prevented another potential tragedy. The girl had written to thank Alex, saying his story had given her the courage to speak up. Detective Chen, who had become a regular speaker at law enforcement conferences, shared how the case had revolutionized community policing approaches. "We're seeing a fundamental shift in how communities and law enforcement work together," she explained during a presentation. Children are no longer seen as helpless potential victims, but as active participants in community safety. The first Butterfly Effect Award ceremony was held in the state capitol building. The Grand Hall was decorated with butterfly motifs, and children from across the state had submitted artwork for display. 5 young people were being honored for their contributions to community safety, each with remarkable stories of their own. Among the honorees was a middle school student who had organized a neighborhood safety patrol after learning about Alex's story. Another was a young girl who had developed a smartphone app that helped kids coordinate walking groups to and from school. Each recipient spoke about how Alex and Riley's story had inspired them to take action in their own communities. Riley, now 7 years old, had blossomed into a confident young spokesperson for child safety. Her art therapy sessions had evolved into workshops where she taught other children to express their feelings through creativity. "Drawing butterflies helps me remember that scary things can turn into beautiful things," she explained to a group of younger students. The campaign's success attracted international attention. Child safety organizations from other countries reached out, interested in implementing similar programs in their communities. Alex and Riley's story was translated into multiple languages, spreading their message of community awareness and action across borders. One particularly touching moment came when a school in Japan sent hundreds of origami butterflies, each containing a message of gratitude and hope. The butterflies were displayed in Alex's school library, creating a colorful reminder of how far their impact had reached. Officer Rivera's police department had become a model for other law enforcement agencies looking to strengthen their community connections. They developed a comprehensive training program that emphasized the importance of taking children's reports seriously and building trust with young community members. The local elementary school's Butterfly Buddies program had evolved into a nationwide network of peer support groups. Older students mentored younger ones, teaching them about safety while building confidence and community awareness. The program's success led to its adoption by youth organizations across the country. Alex's father, who had always supported his son from the background, started a fathers group focused on teaching children about personal safety and community responsibility. "It's not just about protecting our own kids," he would say at their meetings. "It's about creating a community where all children feel safe and supported." As fall turned to winter, the campaign launched a new initiative focused on cyber safety and online awareness. Alex and Riley worked with tech experts to create age-appropriate videos about staying safe in the digital world while maintaining the same principles of awareness and community support that had made their original message so powerful. The program's success caught the attention of child psychology researchers, who began studying what they called the butterfly effect model of community safety. Their findings showed that communities implementing the program saw increased reporting of suspicious activities, stronger neighborhood connections, and, most importantly, children who felt more confident and secure. During a winter community festival, Alex and Riley helped launch a new aspect of the program called Safety Through Seasons. The initiative emphasized how safety awareness needed to adapt to different situations, from darker winter afternoons to summer activities in parks and playgrounds. The festival featured interactive demonstrations, including a popular booth where children could make their own butterfly safety badges. Each badge included a QR code linking to age-appropriate safety resources and emergency contacts. The badges quickly became popular among students nationwide, serving as both a fashion statement and a safety tool. Local businesses continued to expand their involvement in the safety network. Coffee shops, bookstores, and other community establishments displayed butterfly decals and trained their staff in youth safety protocols. Some businesses even created designated safe spaces where children could wait for parents or trusted adults if they felt uncomfortable. One snowy afternoon, Alex visited Riley's art therapy group to see their latest project. The children had created a massive butterfly mural, with each wing panel telling a different story about community safety and support. Riley's panel showed a neighborhood where children played freely while community members watched out for each other, a vision that was becoming reality in more places every day. The success of their story had an unexpected effect on both Alex and Riley. Rather than being defined by the frightening incident that brought them together, they had become symbols of positive change and community empowerment. Their experience had shown that even the darkest moments could lead to transformation and hope. As winter settled in, plans were already underway for a spring safety awareness festival that would bring together communities from across the country. The festival would feature workshops, demonstrations, and sharing sessions where people could learn from each other's experiences and innovations in community safety. Looking back on the months since that crucial spring day, Alex realized that the true power of his actions wasn't just in preventing one tragedy, it was in showing how one person's choice to take action could inspire countless others to do the same. The butterfly effect of that single decision had created waves of positive change that continued to spread, touching lives in ways he never could have imagined. The Spring Safety Awareness Festival transformed the city's largest park into a celebration of community strength and child empowerment. Families from across the country gathered to share stories, learn from each other, and witness the incredible impact of a movement that had started with one boy's decision to take action. Cherry blossoms dotted the park's pathways as children moved between interactive stations, each designed to teach safety awareness through engaging activities. The festival's centerpiece was a massive butterfly garden, where thousands of paper butterflies carried messages of hope and courage from children around the world. Alex and Riley, now seasoned speakers despite their young ages, opened the festival with a simple but powerful message. Safety isn't just about being careful, Alex explained to the crowd. It's about building a community where everyone looks out for each other. Riley, standing confidently beside him, added her perspective. When I feel scared now, I remember I'm not alone. We're all butterflies helping each other fly. Her words, spoken with the pure wisdom of a child who had transformed fear into strength, resonated deeply with the audience. The festival showcased innovations in community safety that had emerged over the past year. A group of high school students demonstrated a new mobile app they developed, inspired by Alex's story. The app connected volunteer adult supervisors with groups of children walking to and from school, creating a digital extension of the neighborhood watch concept. International delegates shared how they'd adapted the Butterfly Effect program to their own cultures. A group from Brazil showed how they'd incorporated the safety awareness message into traditional carnival celebrations. Japanese representatives displayed their digital butterfly system, which used QR codes on street signs to create safe routes for children. Detective Chen hosted a workshop where law enforcement officers from different countries shared their experiences implementing community-based safety programs. What we're seeing, she explained, is a shift from reactive to preventive approaches. Communities are stopping incidents before they happen because everyone is more aware and involved. The festival's technology pavilion showcased cutting-edge innovations in child safety. A team of engineers demonstrated smart crosswalk systems that had been installed in several cities, inspired by the increased focus on community safety. The systems used AI to detect suspicious behavior and alert nearby safety volunteers. Riley's art therapy program had its own special tent, where children created artwork expressing their feelings about safety and community. The walls were covered with paintings, drawings, and collages from young artists around the world, each telling a story of transformation and hope. One particularly moving display featured letters from children who had used the safety awareness skills taught through the Butterfly Effect program. A 9-year-old from Texas had helped a lost toddler find his parents. A group of middle school students in Michigan had organized a successful neighborhood watch program. Each story showed how the ripple effect of Alex's actions continued to spread. Officer Rivera led a session on family safety communication, sharing how her experience as both a police officer and a mother had shaped her approach to teaching safety awareness. The key, she explained, is empowering children without frightening them. We want them to feel confident, not fearful. The festival also marked the launch of a new initiative called Global Butterflies, which would connect safety awareness groups across continents. Through video conferences and online platforms, children from different countries could share their experiences and ideas about making their communities safer. Alex spent time at each festival station, listening to stories and learning from others' experiences. He was particularly moved by a group of children from a small town in Alaska who had adapted the safety program for their unique challenges, creating a system of safe houses for children caught in winter storms. As the festival continued, news crews from around the world captured the energy and inspiration of the event. But they weren't just reporting on a safety awareness program, they were documenting a fundamental shift in how communities approached child protection. The success of the festival led to immediate plans for similar events in other countries. Organizations from Europe, Asia, and South America announced their intentions to host their own butterfly festivals, each adding their unique cultural perspectives to the growing global movement. One of the festival's most powerful moments came during the evening ceremony, when thousands of LED butterflies were released into the darkening sky. Each light represented a community that had implemented safety awareness programs inspired by Alex and Riley's story. The festival's impact extended beyond its physical location. Live streams and social media coverage allowed people from around the world to participate virtually, spreading the message of community safety and child empowerment to even the most remote locations. A team of researchers attending the festival presented their findings on the program's effectiveness. Communities that had implemented the Butterfly Effect program reported significant increases in child safety awareness, community engagement, and successful intervention in potentially dangerous situations. As the festival drew to a close, Alex and Riley participated in a special ceremony where they helped plant a butterfly garden that would serve as a permanent reminder of the event. The garden was designed to bloom year-round, symbolizing the constant need for community vigilance and support. The day ended with a candlelight vigil where participants shared their hopes for the future of community safety. Children and adults alike spoke about their visions for a world where every neighborhood would be as united and protective as the one that had emerged from Alex's brave action. Looking out at the sea of candlelit faces, Alex realized that his simple decision to turn his bike around that spring day had sparked a transformation far greater than he could have imagined. The butterfly effect of his actions had created a wave of positive change that continued to grow and evolve. 1 year after the incident that changed everything, the community gathered at the elementary school playground where it all began. The once ordinary street corner had been transformed into a butterfly garden, with benches for reflection and a small plaque that read, "Where one brave action sparked 1,000 changes." Alex stood beside the garden, now 13 years old and slightly taller, but still carrying the same quiet determination that had driven him to act that crucial day. Riley, now 7, sat on one of the benches, drawing butterflies in her sketchbook, a habit that had become her signature way of processing her thoughts and feelings. The anniversary event wasn't about remembering the fear of that day, but rather celebrating how far they'd come. The neighborhood had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. Houses that once stood behind closed blinds and now featured front porch gathering spots. Children played freely under the watchful eyes of a community that had learned the true meaning of, "It takes a village." Detective Chen, who had become a close friend to both families, shared updates about how their case had influenced law enforcement practices nationwide. "What we learned here," she explained to the gathered crowd, wasn't just about preventing crime. It was about building communities that make crime prevention a natural part of daily life. The Butterfly Effect program had reached all 50 states and 13 countries. Schools reported dramatic increases in student confidence and community engagement. The simple act of speaking up when something didn't feel right had become second nature to children who had grown up with the program's teachings. Officer Rivera, still active in community policing, had developed new training protocols that were being adopted by police departments across the country. The most significant change, she noted, is how children view law enforcement. They no longer see us as just authority figures, but as part of their community support system. Riley's grandmother, who had become a passionate advocate for child safety, led a session sharing how families could build stronger support networks. Her butterfly cookies, once a simple thank you gift, had become a symbol of community connection, with her recipe shared and baked in homes across the world. The afternoon featured a special video compilation of stories from around the globe, children who had used their voices to prevent dangerous situations, communities that had come together to create safer environments, and families that had learned to balance safety with freedom. A group of middle school students presented their research on the butterfly effect of Alex's actions. They had tracked how one decision had led to countless positive changes, new safety programs, stronger community bonds, improved law enforcement approaches, and most importantly, children who felt empowered rather than afraid. Alex's father, speaking to a group of parents, reflected on how the experience had changed their family's perspective. "We always taught Alex about stranger danger," he said, "but what we learned was the importance of teaching children about community connection. Safety isn't just about avoiding danger, it's about building trust and support." The international impact of their story continued to grow. A university in Europe had established a research center dedicated to studying community-based safety initiatives, using the Butterfly Effect program as their primary model. Their findings showed that communities with strong social connections and engaged youth had significantly lower crime rates. Riley's art therapy program had evolved into a nationwide network of creative healing centers. Children dealing with trauma or anxiety could express their feelings through art, often starting with butterflies and gradually expanding their visual vocabulary as they gained confidence and strength. The technology developed in response to their story had also evolved. The safety app inspired by Alex's actions now had millions of users worldwide. It had expanded to include features for community event planning, emergency response coordination, and real-time safety alerts, all while maintaining its core focus on building stronger community connections. As the anniversary celebration continued, Alex and Riley participated in a tree-planting ceremony. They chose a flowering cherry tree, knowing it would bloom each spring around the anniversary of the incident. Like the butterflies in Riley's drawings, Alex explained, it reminds us that beautiful things can grow from challenging moments. The day included the announcement of a new initiative called Future Butterflies, focused on preparing the next generation of community leaders. The program would provide resources and support for young people interested in developing safety and community-building projects in their own neighborhoods. Looking back on the year, Alex reflected on how his simple decision to turn his bike around had created such profound changes. "I was just trying to help one person," he shared with the crowd. "But what I learned is that helping one person can end up helping everyone." Riley, who had grown from a frightened 6-year-old into a confident young advocate for child safety, shared her perspective through her art. Her latest drawing showed a community filled with butterflies of all sizes and colors, working together to create a safe and supportive environment for everyone. The anniversary event concluded with a sunset ceremony where everyone released biodegradable paper butterflies into the evening sky. Each butterfly carried a message of hope, a commitment to community safety, or a personal story of transformation. As darkness fell and families began heading home, the strengthened bonds of community were evident in the way neighbors checked on each other, children walked in groups, and parents coordinated evening activities. What had started as a response to fear had blossomed into a celebration of connection and mutual support. Alex and Riley's story had become more than just a tale of prevention or response, it had evolved into a blueprint for building stronger, safer, more connected communities. Their experience showed that true safety comes not from walls and warnings, but from people looking out for each other and children feeling empowered to trust their instincts and speak up. The butterfly garden would continue to bloom, the cherry tree would grow taller, and new generations would learn the importance of community vigilance and support. But perhaps the most beautiful outcome was the knowledge that in communities around the world, children were growing up feeling safer, stronger, and more connected, all because one boy chose to stop and help when something didn't feel right.